3 systematic reviews of over 40 publications examining the relationship between sources of funding and research outcomes found that studies with industry funding were more likely to report results that favored the company's products than studies with independent sources of funding. How does this contribute to the amount of animal products that are consumed in the United States?
The animal product industry, the dairy industry and the egg industry and the beef industry and so forth, fund studies that are designed to minimize the awareness that people have of the impact of these foods. And this is well understood. I mean, when I get my Ph.D. at Berkeley, I took courses in qualitative and quantitative research methodologies, and so I understand this very well. You can design a study to prove almost anything you want to prove. It's not that difficult. And so they understand this. And so it's pretty easy to hire scientists who are going to get paid in order to create a study that will make it look like eating dairy products will make you lose weight, or eating eggs will be healthy, or eating beef will reduce your chances of heart disease, when exactly the opposite is true. Science is very easily manipulated. And the other thing is that when we see the data in general, it shows that eating a whole food, organic, plant-based diet is overwhelmingly linked with being healthier, and eating diets that are high in animal-based foods is overwhelmingly linked with diseases of various kinds, the chronic diseases that we're facing in our society. That's well understood. But again, the motivation to publicize studies is with these industries. So they'll not only pay to fund a study, but then when the study results are published, and they can be published, it's very easy. It's well understood now that so-called peer-reviewed journals are corrupt. So it's not difficult to publish one of these industry-funded studies in a so-called peer-reviewed journal, and then they have all the money to then promote it on the New York Times and CNN and everywhere else, so everybody reads about it, so it becomes a big splash. If someone independently funded studies, when they're published, there's no one has any money to promote it to the media, so it's kind of unknown by the public. So it's basically like the tobacco industry. And the tobacco industry understood very clearly that all they need to do is to sow seeds of doubt in the minds of people. So they'll just keep smoking. They'll say, well, some experts say smoking is unhealthy. Some experts say smoking is the healthiest thing you can do. They can't argue. I guess I'll just smoke. They're doing the same thing. It's the same exact. They even have the same PR companies that used to work for tobacco are now working for the meat, dairy, and egg industries, and the pharmaceutical industry also is very much in favor of people eating animal foods, because that's where they get their profits, is from sick people. And the best way to have a large, reliable flood of sick people is to have people who are eating animal-based foods, which concentrate toxins, and so you get lots of cancer, lots of heart disease, lots of diabetes. That's where the real money is. So the meat, dairy, egg, and pharmaceutical complex is very happy to fund studies and publicize studies that sow seeds of doubt in people's minds so that they'll continue eating the foods that are also pretty addictive. I mean, dairy products especially are very addictive. The dairy products, when you eat a dairy product, the casein in dairy products metabolizes into something called casomorphines, which are physically addictive, because the morphine in milk is supposed to let the little calf sleep while the mother has some time to herself. But for us, the morphine in the milk, or there are morphine substances in milk, are physically addictive. So they have a substance like tobacco that's physically addictive, and they can sow the seeds of doubt in people's minds with these fake studies. And I just have to say, for example, there's never been one study ever that shows that dairy products are healthy for your bones, right? If you ask the average person, why do they eat dairy products? They say, well, I want to have healthy teeth and healthy bones. There have been many studies, many studies that have shown that eating dairy products will damage your bones, will damage your teeth, will increase the risk of osteoporosis. And any systematic study of all the research on dairy shows that the countries with the highest rate of dairy consumption have the highest rate of osteoporosis, the worst bones, and yet that's not promoted because the industry has the money to promote studies and create studies that basically falsify the data.
Isn't it natural for an animal to provide milk? What's wrong with us getting it from animals?
Of course, it's natural for animals to provide milk. The thing to remember is if we think we're a person who should maybe drink cow's milk, for example, there's one way we can tell, and that is to go into the bathroom, turn on the light, look in the mirror, and if you see in the mirror a little calf looking back at you, then yes, you should be drinking cow's milk. If you see a little baby lamb looking at you, then you should be drinking sheep's milk. If you see a little puppy looking back at you, you should be drinking some dog's milk. If you see a human being looking back at you and you're an adult, you shouldn't be drinking any milk. I mean, why are we drinking the milk of another species? First of all, another species, and second of all, when we're adults. It's very perverse, and the only reason we do it is because we're following orders. We're just doing what we've been told to do, and because these substances are addictive. So I think it's really important to realize that in order to give milk, a cow has to be impregnated. I remember meeting a woman not too long ago. She was very intelligent. She had a Ph.D. We were talking a little bit about dairy, and she said, "Wait a minute, are you telling me that cows don't just give milk?" And I said, yeah, they're like us. They're mammals. I mean, when a girl grows up and becomes a certain age, she doesn't just start squirting milk out of her breasts, going down the street, because she's now, has a breast. She only squirts milk out of her breast when she gives birth to a baby, and the milk is for the baby. It's the same with a cow. We have to impregnate them, and then the milk is for the baby. We steal the baby and kill the baby, and then we steal the milk. And it's not designed for us. It has so many substances in that milk. IGF-1 growth hormone, which causes cancer. Casein, which causes all kinds of problems, including cancer. The strongest cancer-causing substance there is, according to T. Colin Campbell. And estrogen, all these substances that really wreak havoc with us. So yeah, animals will give milk, but it's not for us.
Factory farms pollute the environment and our drinking water and harm the welfare of animals while increasing corporate control over our food. How does eating animal products contribute to the use of factory farms?
Of course, if I'm eating animal foods, I'm directly taking out my wallet and paying for someone to imprison an animal and to impregnate her against her will, to steal her baby, to kill her baby, and I'm going to eat the baby's flesh, or I'm going to eat the dairy products or the eggs that come from those animals. So if I'm paying for that, I'm directly causing that suffering. But I don't just stop there. Besides causing the suffering, which is bad enough of itself, then I turn around and actually eat that suffering. I eat the toxic flesh or secretions of those animals, which cause havoc in my own body. So animal agriculture is a whole webs of trauma. There's trauma to the cows and pigs and chickens, the animals. There's trauma to the workers who have to stab animals and impregnate them on rape racks, and they have the workers have the highest rates of suicide and drug addiction and alcoholism and spousal abuse. These workers on factory farms or backyard farms, it doesn't matter if they're factory farms or backyard farms, they're still killing, raping, stealing, and workers that have to do the terrible things. And so all of this is causing suffering, and then I'm eating that suffering and I'm feeding it to my innocent children. So to really understand that any kind of animal agriculture, whether it's a large-scale operation or a small-scale operation, it's the same. It's violence, it's oppression, and it's abuse of other living beings and of ecosystems that then boomerangs back on us. If I cause that suffering, as I'm sowing, I'm reaping. And all of this entire system would stop immediately if we would just stop paying for it, if we'd stop buying that, and would shift to a plant-based way of eating, which is infinitely more sustainable and compassionate for other living beings.